Hello guys, welcome to my channel Lucid Fanfic, and if you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out on our latest videos. So be sure to stick around until the end, and let's get started. Name, Izuku Midoriya. Age, 16. Likes, not much, watching the clouds, Katsudan later on Toru. Dislikes, fake heroes, All Might, Bakugo, villains, perverts, most things. Personality, is mostly laid back and chooses to ignore people than argue with them, shows little to no emotion. Quirk, psychokinesis. The user has the ability to use psychic energy generated by the mind to move objects, but is not only limited to that. As Izuku found out at a young age, he was able to increase the ability of his brain and intelligence by pumping psychic energy into it directly, and as time went by, he could also apply that to other parts of the body, such as bones. He also developed other ways to use it, such as barrier. He creates a barrier made out of psychic waves that is always active to protect him. Only those allowed by him can get close. Self-psych. By using psychic energy on himself, he can levitate and fly, and it also gives him a huge speed boost. Enhance. This is what he has done to his body since he was young. While physically training, he would gradually add psychic energy to his bones and muscles to make them stronger to the point his punches could rival All Might at 80% when no psychic energy is involved. Psych Zone expands his psychic energy to the point where anyone in that zone cannot move and is practically stopped in time, except for High and anyone he chooses, etc. Third-person POV. This is the world of the superhuman society, where there are people that possess powerful abilities called quirks, and to govern the use of these abilities, a new profession begun supported by the government called heroes. This story follows the journey of a young hero that was broken, but continues all because of a promise. We see a young boy with black hair and green highlights with a freckled face on both cheeks in the shape of a diamond. This boy is Izuku Midoriya, and today, he and his mother are at the doctor's office waiting for the results of the quirk test on his 4th birthday. Mom, what do you think my quirk will be? And do you think it will be as strong as All Might's, so I can be a hero? Asked the cinnamon roll with the hugest smile in the world. Inko, who is Izuku's mother, could not help but smile at his adorable excitement. Of course, dear, I'm sure you will have a great quirk. No matter what it is, you will be a great hero. Remember, you are already my little hero, Inko answered with her own motherly smile as the doctor entered the room carrying a file. Mrs. Midoriya, I have great news. It seems your son has a powerful mutated version of your quirk. Instead of telekinesis that requires hand movement to move objects, he has psychokinesis, whereby he only needs to use brain waves to move objects, and with mental training, it will be so strong to the level of lifting multiple buildings without a challenge. When the doctor finished the young hero's eyes at stars, he could really become a hero. After thanking the doctor and leaving the hospital, the small family decided to buy a few things to celebrate the good news and little Midoriya's birthday, but to someone else looking, you would think it was going to be a party for the whole town with the amount of things they were buying. Which is exactly what led to a mysterious figure to notice them and decide to follow them. When a family arrived home and started preparing the decorations and food, there was a knock at the door, causing Inko to go and answer. When she opened, she was immediately grabbed by the neck and slammed to the floor by a dark figure. He was wearing only black clothes with black hair and red eyes. He started to speak with, "Give me all the money you have, or everybody dies." Izuku came downstairs to his mother being shocked and shouted at him. Inko, seeing his son, knew she had to protect him. She reached out her hand in the direction of the kitchen as a knife came rocketing to her hand, which she swiftly caught and stabbed it to the man's side, who immediately stood and threw her with all his force to the opposite side of the room. The man was angry, then his whole body was engulfed in fire as he started stepping closer to the green-haired woman. Inko just looked at her son and shouted, "Run." Izuku wanted to say no, and "I can't leave you." But Inko gave him the look that said, "Don't disobey," so he ran out the door to look for help. The black-haired man didn't care the boy was gone, he just wanted to make this woman pay. Izuku ran down the streets until he saw a small crowd surrounding a big yellow-haired man with $1,000,000 smile, talking to the media. Izuku felt hope All Might was right in front of him, so he ran up to him and shouted, "All Might, please help." "Wait your turn, young boy. I'll give you an autograph. Once I'm done," All Might answered, looking back at the reporters. Izuku was surprised, but tried again. Maybe he hadn't heard what he said. No, it's important. Before he could finish, All Might responded. Yes, we all have important things to do, kid. Just like me, right? So go play somewhere for now, and come back later. I'll be waiting, he answered with his smile. With reporters just saying he was amazing with children too. But Izuku just snapped. He didn't have time for this. I said this is important. There's a villain in my house, and he is about to kill my mom. Izuku shouted, silencing everyone, and at the moment in the direction Izuku came from there was an explosion with flames brightening the late-night sky from a distance away. All Might jumped to action with the media entering their vans, heading to the explosion site, leaving the little Midoriya there who also started running toward his house. When he arrived, his heart broke. Their house was on fire, and All Might was fighting the villain outside. But he couldn't find his mother. Surely All Might saved her, right? That hope was crushed when he had coughing from the house. The boy ran to the house only to find his mother under a wood pillar that is on fire. No, 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 no. This can't be, Mom. Please wake up. I need you. I have no one else. Izuku cried, screaming at the top of his voice, because earlier this year his father, who was working overseas, also died in an accident. And now this why? When suddenly his mother's eyes opened and she smiled. My baby, you're alive. I'm sorry that I can't be with you longer. I really wish I could change this, but I'm happy you are alive. Izuku cried more and tried using his quirk, pointing at the pillar to try and lift it, but it wasn't working. He tried and tried over and over again, but it didn't work. Izuku, my boy, it's fine. I'm already out of time, but just make sure you never forget the promise you made to me when you were younger. She smiled as she finally closed her eyes. MOM. Izuku screamed as huge psychic energy exploded in his mind, developing at a very fast rate. The psychic waves then extinguished the fire quickly due to the force they were traveling. All the debris and pillar were lifted back to their original place. He then crawled to his mother's lifeless body and hugged it while crying as the fight outside finally ended. Police arrived shortly after, taking statements from neighbors and the symbol of peace with the media, making him look like a saint for defeating the villain. But to Izuku, he was now the biggest villain of them all. He let his mother die and went to fight an opponent that was fairly weaker than him, but drag it out on purpose for the media to have a good show at the cost of his mother. But as much as he blamed All Might, he blamed himself more. If only he was faster, if only he was able to use his quirk, or maybe if he didn't run and instead made his mother run, things would have been better to him. It was all his fault. He then heard police discussing about him going to an orphanage, and with his mind on overdrive, he moved the words on the forms so that it stated that he could continue living in his house, and the caretaker would check on him regularly to see what he needs. Somehow, the caretaker that signed the form didn't see this as a problem, probably because it meant less kids to watch. He wasn't going to leave his home and allow them to give away his mother's things, so he changed it and waited as his mother's body was taken away. He said his final goodbyes as everyone just left him there, and he went to bed after throwing away every All Might poster and merchandise he had. But the whole night he had nightmares. It has been a week and is finally going to kindergarten again when he sees his best friend Katsuki Bakugo. He felt if anyone could bring back his drive to become a hero, it would be him. So he smiled a little for the first time in a week and walked up to his friend. Good morning, Kachan, he greeted, not as joyful as he used to. But the ash blonde didn't seem to notice. Yo, Izuku, where have you been? Actually forget that. What's your quirk? You went to the doctor last week, right? Warehouse. What? Izuku was confused, not because of the question. No, he was sure that his friend knew that his mother died, but it seemed like he didn't care and only wanted to know his quirk. Izuku's POV. I was about to answer his question when he cut me off, and what he said was something I never expected. What's the matter? You can't answer. Or perhaps you're quirkless. Hiya, I'm sure that's it. You've always been useless, and now you don't even have a quirk. No wonder your mother died. I'm sure she couldn't wait to get away from a loser like him. I right, Deku? I couldn't speak. He is my childhood friend telling me that my mother wanted to die, that she was disappointed in me, and normally any 4-year-old would think that he is joking and only saying that because he's stressed or something, but my brain was on overdrive, so I could that he meant each and every word that he said. So I just turned around with a tear to walk away. What did I do to deserve this? My parents left me, my idol disappointed me, and my best friend betrayed me. What else can go wrong in my life? Answer me when I'm talking to you, Deku, and don't turn your back on me. I'm better than you, and I still have parents. Katsuki roared at me, and the next thing I know, I was hit by an explosion on my back, and another one after I fell then. They kept coming to the point that I was bleeding after Katsuki was bored he left after lastly telling me to know my place. I was left on the grass, crying, "I don't want this, please make it stop. I don't want to feel these emotions anymore. I want to feel nothing." That day, apparently, my quirk answered my prayers as it suppressed the part of the brain that is responsible for my emotions, as I just stopped crying, stood up, and went home without a care in the world. Izuku's POV. It has been approximately 12 years since me and Bakugo stopped being friends, and surprise, surprise, he became my bully, because he still believes I'm quirkless now. To be fair, I never corrected him, but he doesn't deserve to know. Shortly after we entered junior high, he had told everyone that I am quirkless, but I really didn't care and showed no emotion, which caused a lot of people to be bored of bullying me, because it didn't affect me, but they still kept their distance. The only one who never stopped was the angry ash blonde, because of me not caring made it seem like I'm looking down on him or something like that. But even the physical abuse stopped affecting me after day one, simply because of my quirk. I found out I can make a psychic barrier around me that would not allow anything to touch me unless I allowed it. But since I didn't want Bakugo to know I have a quirk I use just under my skin so that he can feel satisfied with himself, while I only get a few scratches that psychic energy can repair immediately. You might be wondering why I don't go around showing my quirk. Well, my mom always told me to never break the law unless absolutely necessary to save someone else, so I refused to use it without a proper reason. Now, during the past years, I had trained myself greatly in order to fulfill my promise to my mom. I first made sure my body was in peak condition, because you can't always rely on a quirk, but that doesn't mean I slacked off on my quirk. No, actually the amount of studying of the mind and its applications, and also all matter around me, is enough to make me a college professor, which made my understanding of my quirk to be on another level. But if I tell everything I can do, that would require me to write a book the size of an encyclopedia. It was the final day of junior high, and I was sitting in class looking out the window, not paying attention. What you expect from someone who has only gotten 100% in all tests and exams since he was 4. Then I noticed the teacher throwing papers, then Bakugo standing on top of his desk shouting something I didn't care about. Then the teacher said something that brought me back to the real world. On Midoriya, it says here that you also applied for UA. There was silence until the class broke into laughter, until Bakugo decided to blow up my table, which I didn't flinch, especially since I expected this. Deku, you nerd, you think UA would accept a quirkless orphan like you? Don't go to UA, or you will regret it. Why is he always so loud? I thought, while totally ignoring him. But before he could do anything, the bell rang. I stood up and left, since I didn't bring my bag, since it's the last day of school. But all the other idiots in my class didn't think of that, thus I was the first one out. I passed by a soda machine and got a bottle of soda, which I drank on my way home. But today, I took a different route under a bridge, and as I passed, I felt a life form rising behind me, but decided to ignore until he said him a nice medium bodysuit, just what I needed, he said, as he attacked with him slime tentacle, which blew up to pieces, coming in contact with my barrier wall. You little brat. Before he could attack again, I simply turned around, walked to him, and looked him in the eye. I'm really not in the mood for this, and since I can't use my quirk, I'll make this fast, I said as I disappeared in his line of sight, and appeared in front of his eyes, and punched him with so much force it splattered him all over the tunnel. I might have not been holding back enough. As soon as I finished, I felt another life form, which I could recognize, even if it was 1,000 miles away. Do not fear, because I am here, All Might said, coming out the sewer. Oh, I see you already handle it. I'm sorry. I don't usually involve civilians in my fights. Whatever, I'm leaving, I said, turning around, barely holding back my bloodlust before I actually kill him. I could tell I left All Might confused, because for once he met someone who wasn't kissing the ground he walks on. But I didn't care. I just kept walking. I still had to go to work at the cafe near the neighborhood. As I was walking, I hear an explosion about a block away, deciding I still had enough time. So I went to check it out, and what I saw was the same villain I left to All Might and high nowhere to be found, and it was killing a hostage who happened to be Bakugo, and heroes standing around saying they don't have the proper quirk. Well, there really wasn't anything abnormal about this situation. This is how the hero society is like. I looked at Bakugo's frightened eyes and saw that he was about to die. He would deserve it, but I still made a promise, so I pushed through everyone as the heroes for me to stop. I just looked at them and said, "Backdraft, shoot one of your hoses to the fire in front of the villain. Kimui Woods, launch yourself between the building and extend your arms so that you're far from the fire, and extend your leg to grab the hostage. Death arms, run towards the villain and punch the only physical part, which is the eyes. The Kimui Woods, pull the hostage. Once he is free, backdraft, shoot water directly at him to dilute the slime so that he can't control it anymore." They looked at me strangely before they could say anything. I shouted, "He is dying," which caused them to act according to my plan. Add, save the hostage and defeat the villain in 10 seconds. "Hey kid, your plan back. There was really good, but running in there was really reckless. Next time, leave it to the pros." Kim Yui tried to lecture me, and I simply replied, "Which pros are you talking? Because the hostage was going to be dead in 15 seconds if I didn't tell you what to do, since you were still waiting for someone with a proper quirk. Tell me, did they arrive, or were you waiting for the hostage to die so that you can finally do something?" He opened his mouth to reply, but nothing came out. The society of today is flawed. Heroes think being a pro is only about fighting the villain and end up forgetting the people they swore to save. They drag out fights to show off their moves, do that the media will paint them as great heroes while forgetting all the people that died on the watch of that hero. Is that what you heroes were trained to do, to look cool in front of the camera while people die? Or were you trained to risk your life and conquer unfairness so the people that are powerless do not suffer? Or maybe you just don't care. I finished walking away as I noticed I was actually filmed, and everyone there was silent with wide eyes and mouths, probably the first they have heard the truth before. I continued heading to work for my night shift. Then Bakugo came running behind me. "Deku, I don't know WEU anything, you hear me? I could have beat that weakling on my own. I just ignored the angry team because I learned a long time ago he is too much of an ego to even communicate with. But just as I thought my day could not get worse, the man I hate most in this world decided to show up in front of me again. "Ha, I am here to talk to you, young man. I have seen your bravery and how you spoke of true heroes and have deemed you worthy to be my successor and inherit my quirk. So do you accept?" Ignoring the point he talked about transferring a quirk, I asked him the question that was burning in me: "What makes you think you are a true hero?" "Yes, of course you accept." "Wait, what do you mean?" I saw his dumb, confused face, and it actually made me feel angry that he forgot something that changed my life. He simply moved on and forgot. 12 years around this area, a 4-year-old boy that was celebrating his birthday ran up to you with an emergency, and he was scared, but you didn't care because you were busy with the media while his mother was fighting for her life. You finally did something when an explosion occurred, but when you got there, instead of saving the little boy's mother, you fought the villain and intentionally dragged it out for the cameras to see. I watched you fight since I was a baby, so I knew how strong you were, and I saw that man's quirk. It wasn't strong enough for you to even break a sweat. You could have one in 1 second and save my other, but you didn't. You let her die. Then the media praised you as a hero for defeating that weak villain while not even wasting more than 2 seconds to mention my mother that died. I had no one left. You killed the only person I had left that showed me any kindness, and you continue like you never did anything wrong out of everyone and every villain in the world. I hate you the most, All Might. I told him, realizing I was actually crying, something I hadn't done since I was 4. I couldn't look at this monster in front of me any longer who looked shocked and was clouded with guilt, but it was too late for that. I would never forgive him, just like I will never forgive myself for letting my mom die. I just left to work. I still needed money for extra things. The money from the orphanage was only to keep me alive. Time skip. 10 months have passed, and in front of the gates of UA stands a black-haired with green highlights, green dull-eyed boy that looks like he doesn't have a soul as he takes a step inside the gates. Third-person POV. At the gates of UA, wearing his junior high uniform, we can see a black with green highlights haired boy with his hands in his pocket, walking towards the examining hall, when suddenly a loud shout disturbed his peaceful walk. "DKU, what the hell are you doing here, deviant? I tell you not to apply to UA." And who is this disturbance? Well, obviously the Ash Blonde Time Bomb. I think that it's obvious that I came here for a test, and you should be careful. Bakugo, your inner villain, is showing in front of all these people. Answered Izuku, without sparing a glance at the angry bomb, and walking towards the leaving people staring at Bakugo. "What are you extras looking at? Bakugo soon also started walking towards the hall with the little pride he had left and a never-ending anger brewing. When Izuku sat down midnight, also arrived with test papers for the written exam, which would last for 3 hours. When the test began, Izuku quickly answered all the questions and also found that some of the questions needed correction in order for them to be efficient and would probably get him extra points. He finished the test within 1 hour 30 minutes, with the 30 minutes only for checking if the answers were correct. After he was done, he took a tour of the school to try and memorize each and every part of the enormous school that he will hopefully be attending in the future. It was then that he bumped into two men. One with black hair and eye bags like he hasn't slept in years, the other with yellow gravity-defying hair and weird-looking sunglasses. "Hey, little listener, shouldn't you be writing the test right now?" exclaimed the loud present mic. "I'm actually finished. I was currently on a self-tour." "Then you should return to the auditorium. The practical session is about to begin," answered the tired voice of a Raise Your Head. Izuku simply nodded and walked to the auditorium to take his assigned seat, then blocked out his surrounding. As soon as present mic and other participants arrived, he already read the brochure anyway. His peaceful thoughts were interrupted by Ann and you with that bored expression. "It's clear you haven't been paying attention since the beginning. If you are not going to take this seriously, then you should leave," shouted the blue-haired Sonic bootleg. Of course, he wasn't lying. Izuku really wasn't paying attention, but who was he to tell Hai that he shouldn't be a hero while it's the only thing his mother wanted from him? Izuku just stared at him with his dull eyes, releasing some of his pressure directly at him, causing him to freeze and quickly sit down. "Okay, participant 11776, the fourth robot is only worth 0 points and is more of an obstacle, so it is better to avoid it. With that said, good luck and show the spirit of a hero with our school motto. I send you out saying go beyond plus ultra." Soon all the participants were at their gates, with Izuku being at gate B. As he was stretching, the blue-haired kid came again, trying to hold his shoulder. "Hey, I don't think it's heroic to ignore him." Before he finished, his hand was recoiled back by the psychic barrier. "Did I give you permission to touch me?" Izuku spoke while giving the boy a death stare, causing the boy to move away and tumble and fall on his butt. Before the event could escalate, the speakers turned on, and the only sound that came out was goo. Before anyone else could react, Izuku used psychic energy on himself, lifted himself at the ground, and flying through the gate at speeds exceeding the speed of light, leaving people not understanding what had just happened. But Izuku himself was confused himself. If you ask why, it's quite simple. Even though he trained his Quirk, he never maxed out because of Quirk laws, and now seeing that 10% of his power is this powerful, he really should hold back. He was now staring at a group of 3-pointers and 2-pointers, so he put his hands in his pockets while levitating above them. His eyes started glowing as the robots started rising into the sky, then crushing them together to the size of a softball. "What are you waiting for? There are countdowns in real battle. Follow the green-haired kid. He already has 15 points with that the test begun." Observation room. "It seems we have a really good bunch this year," spoke the small bear, dog, rat thing called Nizu, principal of UA. Some used location skills to find their opponents. Came Nizu again, while the screen showed a girl with earphone jacks for earlobes and a boy with multiple arms that could be transformed to form eyes and ears. Some used their speed. Came the voice of the pro hero Ectoplasm, while the screen showed the blue-haired Sonic bootleg. And some used just raw aggression in battle. Came Snipe's voice, while showing the video of the ash blonde known as Bakugo Katsuki. But the best are those that combine those. "What the hell, that kid has got 200 points." Nizu was interrupted by Midnight shouting after seeing the green hair boy use a ball made of robot scrap to go around the field, destroying multiple robots. Izuku, Midoriya, seems like a rather powerful kid, but let us test if he has the heart of a hero, said Nizu with a very sadistic grin while pressing a red button with never meant anything good. Izuku's POV. "I think I currently have about 200 points, so I decided to just fly to the top of the nearest building and sleep. Unfortunately, life really hates, because the moment I closed my eyes, I started hearing rumbling, causing me to peek, which led to me seeing a ridiculously huge robot towering the buildings. I saw other examinees running, so I was also about to hurry to the gate when I heard a soft cry for help. I looked back to see a brown-haired girl trapped in the debris of the fallen buildings. I flew down to see, firstly, if anyone was attempting to help the girl, but these fakes kept running, only thinking of their own safety. My eyes glowed green as I activated my quirk to 15% to practically flash to the girl's location in front of the zero-pointer. I looked at it, causing it to stop all its movement. Next, I lifted the debris from the girl, placing it in an organized pile next to the road, then lifted the girl to my arms, carrying her bridal style. "Are you okay? Does it hurt anywhere?" I questioned the girl that seems to have a permanent blush, which somehow became redder when she noticed I was holding her. "Yes, I'm fine. I might have a broken ankle," though, came her reply. I softly touched her ankle, careful not to harm her, and felt that all the bones are still aligned. "She just sprained it." "It's just sprained. I'll take you to the front gate, but first I'll deal with that hunk of junk," I said so as I snapped my fingers, causing the zero-pointer to separate into multiple individual parts that I arranged next to other side of the road to minimize overall damage. I then flew towards the gate with only 5% now, with the girl still in my arms, for some reason having wide eyes and her mouth open, perhaps because I dismantled the zero-pointer with a snap of my finger. I don't know. I soon discovered everyone else had the same expression as reached the gates, but I wasn't interested in conversing with fakes. "Is everyone all right here, Sonny?" Came the words of Recovery Girl. "My friend here, sprained here, ankle, otherwise I'm fine." Recovery Girl kissed her on the forehead, and soon her ankle glowed, and she hopped out of my arms good as new. "My quirk takes some of your stamina to increase the speed of recovery, so you might feel a little tired, but other than that you are totally fine." The girl thanked Recovery Girl as I left the exam site, as the exam had just been announced over. Observation room. All the teachers were silent. No one could say anything. All Might, who has had a mixture of feelings going on after researching the information he was told the other day by young Midoriya, he had found that his mother truly died to a villain that he was fighting, though he couldn't remember the events. Clearly, there really wasn't any news speaking of him failing to rescue the citizen. It was only news of how cool he looked fighting. He was disgusted at himself because his careless actions had left a 4-year-old child without a parent, and now seeing how powerful that child is, he was happy that he didn't become a villain, because truthfully heroes would be in trouble. Third-person POV. 1-week time skip. Izuku had just received his letter from UA and was sitting in his room preparing to open it. When he opened the letter, a disc fell out, which he pressed, creating the projection of All Might. This caused Izuku to tilt his head as to why he was on the letter for UA, but he didn't really care, so he would listen what he has to say. "I am here. Young Midoriya, you have done amazingly in the written exam, scoring an impressive 150% by correcting the questions, and also on the physical exam, you scored an impressive 260 points. Now you might be thinking where the extra 60 points came from. Well, the test had a secret section, which was the hero points, which you got them after saving the examinee from the zero-pointer. All of this means you are the first-year representative and are also in Class 1A. Welcome, young Midoriya, to your hero academia." Well, my heart is beating faster. It's almost like I'm happy. I guess now I'm one step closer to fulfilling my promise to Mom. Izuku got up and started preparing for the first day at UA. Time skip. First day. We see Izuku Midoriya walking along the hall toward his class. As he gets to the door, he is amazed at how big the door is. Probably for giant-type quirks, Izuku thought as he was about to enter, but had two voices he would have preferred not to ever hear again as he opened the door. "Get your feet at the table. It's disrespectful to the seniors that have used these desks before you, and is unbecoming of a UA student," spoke the blue-haired kid while chopping his arm in a robotic manner. "What did you just say to me, Four Eyes? Who the hell do you think you are?" Came the angry reply of the ash-blonde rabid dog. "My apologies, let us start over. My name is Tenya Ida from Semi High," said Ida, extending his arm for a handshake. "An elitist? I'm going to enjoy destroying you. Destroy? Are you sure you're supposed to be in the hero course?" Before he could continue, he noticed you and came running, then bowed. "Excuse me, my name, not interested," was all Izuku said, while passing the boy to go to his seat. "Deku, what the are you doing here? How can a quirkless and 01 like you be accepted into UA?" Now people were interested on if he really was quirkless and waiting for an answer, but Izuku ignored Bakugo and sat down. This obviously made the boy angry, but before he could destroy someone's eardrums, the brown hair girl showed up. Hey, you the boy that saved me from the zero-pointer. I didn't get a chance to thank you, but I'm really grateful. My name is Achiko Uraraka. Nice to meet you. She bowed, then showing a smile as warm as the sun. No problem, just did what any decent human would have done when they see someone's life on the line. By the way, my name is Izuka Midoriya. A pleasure to meet you, came the emotionless reply of the green-haired boy. Before they possibly continue, they were disturbed by a caterpillar. If you're here to make friends, then you should leave. It took you 8 seconds to be quiet. That is illogical. We will have to work on that. Take these PE uniforms and meet me at the training grounds, and don't even ask me about orientation. By the way, I'm show you to Aizawa, and I'll be your homeroom teacher. With that, the caterpillar left. Izuku's POV. I quickly went to the changing room because I didn't anyone to see why scars, at least not yet, mostly because I don't want to answer questions from my loud classmates. After I was done changing, I went to the training field and just sat on a tree branch while waiting. After 10 minutes, they finally arrived. I jumped down and Aizawa started the lesson or whatever. Okay, we're having a quirk apprehension test. You've done these tests before in junior high, but without your quirks, this is illogical. Therefore, today, we will be testing your quirks. Midoriya, you scored first in the practical exam. Throw this as far as you can with your quirk. Aizawa threw me the ball. Great attention on the first day. I just sighed as I moved into the circle. I shouldn't use my quirk yet until I see at what level my classmates are. I don't want to scare them. We might never be friends, but we will still work together in the future. So no quirk or low percentages, I thought as I gripped the ball. I threw it with all my might, breaking the speed barrier. I looked at Aizawa, and he was kind of glaring at me, maybe because I didn't use my quirk. 909.6 meters. It is important to know the limits of your power, Aizawa said, while still glaring at me, until a pink-skinned girl shouted, "We can use our quirks, this is going to be fun." Aizawa grinned, which gave me chills down my spine. Fun? You say these 3 years here you're planning to have fun? Well, here at UA, we will send you through hell, and if you think it will be fine, then you shouldn't be here. So the person that gets the lowest score will be judged as having no potential and will be expelled. There were gasps from the students for some reason until Uraraka said that it's unfair since it's the first day, which was immediately shut down as heroes are supposed to fight against unfairness, which is true, but unfortunately the heroes of today don't seem to abide by that, as they only seek fame and battles they know they can win. The test finished with me getting first place in everything except the ball throw due to the infinity score by Uraraka. As it was now, I was waiting for the results until Aizawa capture tape wrapped around me. As he glared at me, "How long are you going to hold back while the rest of the class has been doing their best? Did I not say everyone should give it their all? Or should I just expel you? What do you mean, Mr. Aizawa?" I thought Midoriya did. Really well, came the voice of the red-haired boy. Him doing well is besides the point. He hasn't used his quirk even once. This caused the entire class to gasp until those at the exam with him remembered his quirk and started muttering to others what it was. I was actually angry his threatening to expel me without even asking why I'm not going 100%. I know I could have used lower percentages, but there was no need. But if he wanted to show, I'll give it to him. Aizawa, sir, if I go all out, will you take responsibility of any consequences that may happen? Kid, this is UA. Whatever you do, we can cover it. So do as I say. I only nodded and moved the capture tape of me with psychokinetic waves, which seemed to surprise him. It's not like the gear is that strong. I moved to the center of the circle and started floating in the air. My eyes glow green as I stood up, and I was surrounded by a green and silver aura as the ball flew around me. I could almost see the surprise of the students behind me as I increased power, causing the teacher and my classmates to be blown away from me as the ground and school walls started cracking, followed by cracking of the glasses. I brought the ball in front of me as I snapped my fingers, causing a huge shock wave to happen as the ball was speeding throughout space and the glasses of the whole campus finally shattered. Soon as I landed, I saw all of the teachers and some learners who were probably in the orientation. "What the hell is going on here?" asked the principal, seeing the damage and students on the ground with their teacher, with only me standing, now powered down. "Excuse me, principal, for disturbing you, but I was threatened with expulsion if I didn't go all out, so I used 25% of my quirk to show the repercussions of me going 100%, and Mr. Aizawa has stated that all damaged would be his responsibility." Everyone was pale, probably because I said that was only 25% of what I can do, but Aizawa was more probably from the amount of damage he would have to pay. Everyone was broken out of their shock by Bakugo lunging at me. Deku, where the hell did you get a powerful Quirk, you useless waste? Or were you lying to me and looking down on me all this time? I just held him in the air before he reached me. I never lied to you, Bakugo, because I never said I was quirkless. But are you sure you want to have this conversation while the principal is here? Actually, I don't care. Let's tell the story we both know, shall we? It starts 1 week after my birthday. When my mother died, I came to the playground because my motivation for being a hero was shuttered and thought my best friend would help me. But instead of asking how I was doing after my mother passed, he chose to ask about my quirk, which surprised me, and I couldn't speak. But he took my silence as me not having a quirk and decided I was beneath him and attacked me with his quirk over and over again, until he was bored. The pain I felt was mostly emotional because I was truly alone to the point that my quirk responded on its own and closed to the part of my brain that feels emotion. I thought of telling you that I had a quirk, but then I realized that you were not really my friend. You could start bullying me because we were different. Then why should I be friend with you? As years went on, you bullied me each and every day, told everyone else to bully me, and even got the teachers to treat me unfairly. The wounds you made are still on my Y skin. I only stopped the damage from being worse by applying my quirk beneath my skin so that my underlying tissue isn't injured. You asked me if I've been looking down on you, Bakugo. The answer is no. When I was younger, I looked up to you because you were strong and would be a good hero. But now to me, you're only a villain that beats down on those you believe are weaker than you. I don't think anything else about you because in my world, you don't exist, and I will keep ignoring you until I graduate and become a hero. So whatever you do, make sure it doesn't involve me. Well, I again made everyone speechless, including Bakugo, who seemed shocked. I don't know why, but he was about to speak when Nizu interrupted him. Mr. Bakugo, I hope these claims are false, but I doubt that there was any lie, so an investigation will be done on your previous junior high, and depending on what we find, we will determine your punishment, or you might even be expelled. Students, because of the damage, I would like everyone to go home. Then tomorrow your official first day will start. After that statement, I dropped Bakugo and left to change, then went home. All things considered, I think today could have worse, so there's that. Third-person POV. It was the next day, and Izuku was heading to school while having some headphones on and listening to music. A lot has happened in the time between yesterday and this morning, including the investigation of his former junior high and the teachers there. It came as a surprise to heroes when they found out all Izuku said was the truth, and that Bakugo was allowed to do whatever he liked just because he had a powerful quirk. It's only safe to say that the school was closed and all the teachers lost their jobs. And as for Bakugo, he was only told that he will be closely monitored from now on. He obviously did not like that, but he had no choice. Now let's get back to Izuku as he entered the class, and was pleased that he was the first there as he took his seat at the back of the class and just stared out the window. Soon other students started filling the class. Some wanted to talk to him, but didn't know how to go about it. After what they found out yesterday, and Bakugo arrived, he was met with hateful eyes from his classmates, but he didn't care. When his eyes met Izuku, his anger boiled over, but he surprisingly held himself back and went his seat down. Izuku's POV. Class had just begun, and to my disappointment, it was just things like English, math, and history, which if you haven't gathered by now, are super easy for me. When lunch came around, I went to the lunch hall, grabbed my food, and went outside to eat on the grass under the shade of the trees. I was enjoying my katsudan while also watching the clouds. I wonder if I concentrated into one big cluster, would I be able to sleep on them? Well, scientifically, they would still be in gas form, even if they're concentrated, making them intangible, but they still look like they would make such a good pillow. My thoughts were disturbed by the bell, so I decided to go back to class. It didn't take long for me to detect the aura of the man I hate the most. Then the slammed open as All Might entered doing a ridiculous pose while shouting, I'm coming through the door like a normal person in my mind. I wanted to know which part of that seemed normal to him, but I remained silent. Soon my classmates started losing their minds while shouting and talking about the oh so great All Might, and I just decided to ignore them until the baboon spoke again. Now you might be wondering what I'll be doing for today. Well, this is Hero Studies, or what I'd like to call a Heroics 101, and the best way to do this is with battle training. But what is a hero without their hero costumes? I could practically feel the malice coming of Bakugo, but I didn't care. What was important now was getting this done and going home. 20 cases came out the wall, which carried our outfits as we took them and went to change. I didn't look at All Might as I took my outfit and went to change where a certain pervert tried peeking at the girls, but soon I put a stop to that by applying pressure on him, planting him into the ground. Then leaving everyone there as I went to the training city and just sat near the entrance waiting for everyone. Soon everyone arrived as we waited for All Might, but one thing was bothering me that I just had to ask. Hagakure, why are you wearing only gloves and shoes? I asked the naked girl, as she seemed surprised, probably because I was talking to her. Well, since I'm invisible, having minimum clothes helps with stealth, and it's not like someone can see me. She got over her surprise quickly and seemed happy to explain her quirk and outfit choice, which seemed correct, except I can see you by reading brainwaves and the electromagnetic energy in your cells. My psychic waves can give a 100% image of you, meaning to me you're a naked girl with gloves and shoes on. This made everyone silent for some reason of which I don't understand until I heard Hagakure scream and try to cover herself with her hands. Yo, you pervert. Well, that wasn't nice at all. When someone helps you, aren't you supposed to say thank you? Well, it doesn't matter. I was a pervert. I would have stayed quiet so that I can stare at you all I like, but instead I told you your costume isn't effective, and now I'm willing to give you advice on your costume if you wanted. She seemed to calm down after that and only nodded, so I continued. When go to the tech department, ask for your costume to be made from your DNA, firstly, so it will turn on and off by your command, just like Mirio's costume. Then ask for it to be able to refract light, just like how your quirk works, so that it's more effective. That's all. After that, I left her go to the front and wait for the big idiot, as I heard a soft thank you from the naked girl. All Might arrived as I was inspecting my costume to see whether it really fit with my fighting style. But then again, I always liked a hands-on approach. It made things more interesting, especially with my upgraded strength. The black one on the right include the face mask, gauntlets, ignore black whip, and armored shoes. Now you look like real heroes. Let us begin your battle training, the big muscle herd shouted as Copy Sonic decided to ask if we would be fighting robots again, which was answered by no. Turns out we'll be fighting indoors without proper training, and hopefully we won't injure each other too bad, I guess. The fights will be villain versus hero, a 2-on-2 battle with the villains hiding a nuke in the building for 5 minutes. Then the heroes must capture the bomb or capture the villains with capture tape. Oh, and the teams are chosen with lots. Excuse me, sir, wouldn't it be better to choose someone we already know the strength to be our partner than a stranger? Why was Sonic on my case about disrupting other students at the entrance exam when it has been disrupting this class for stupid things all day? When you become a pro, you don't always have a luxury of choosing who you want to team up with, so you have to learn to adapt to work with other pros that you might have never even heard of. I decided to give my classmate an idea of what's going on. Oh, I see. Thank you, Midoriya. I ignored him. If there are no more questions, everyone must go to the observation room, except these guys. All Might shouted, and of course the first one was me and the Uraraka girl against Bakugo and Ida. So how should we plan for this? Any ideas? The wild Machi asked, as if it was lost. Well, knowing Bakugo, he will attack me head-on because he's an idiot, and Ida will stay with the bomb. So I'll sense their position and float you to the floor with the bomb while I enter and take care of Bakugo, and you wait until I'm done keeping watch so Ida doesn't decide to come and help. Sound good? She looked at me like I'm gold or something, her eyes sparkling. Yeah, that's great. She pumped her fist into the air. I'll never understand this, Machi. Hero team, you may enter. All Might shouted, and I began my mission. Third-person POV. Izuku's eye glowed green as he sensed everything in the finding Katsuki on the 3rd floor waiting to ambush him and Ida on the 5th floor guarding the bomb. He then turned to Uraraka and told her to take a few rocks and projectiles with her before floating her to the 5th floor out of sight of Sonic. Izuku walked in the building all the way to the 3rd floor where a hormonal teenager is waiting for him. DKU. The ash-blonde boy jumped around the corner firing an explosion, which Izuku just dodged, and kept moving forward, which might have made the boy with rabies angrier. I'm going to enjoy trashing you for looking down on me, as if you're better than me, like you don't care at all. Today, I'll teach you a lesson. Bakugo blasted towards the non-caring boy with a right hook, which was caught, then was followed by a quick jab to the face by Izuku, sending the angry boy into the wall. Izuku waited for Bakugo to get And as he got up, he went blasting in the air, maneuvering in order to catch Izuku off guard, but that didn't happen. Everything he tried was met with a block. Parry, then counter, and those counters left very visible bruising. Use your quirk and stop underestimating me, or maybe when you die you'll learn your lesson fine. You're a nerd, right? So you should know how my gauntlets work as they store my sweat, allowing me to make even bigger explosions, so die. The idiot screamed as he pulled the pin, young Bakugo, and oh, you'll kill him. He won't die if he dodges, and the huge explosion went towards the uncaring Izuku as his classmates started screaming as he simply lifted his hand, and allowing his eyes to glow as the explosion stopped as it was enveloped in some sort of green orb that shrank to the size of a marble. Is this really the best? You've got all the years of calling yourself the future #1 hero. And in terms of potential, just IR class, I wouldn't even place you in the top 5. Hey, let me give you an experiment with this attack of yours. If it was compressed by 50 times its size, how strong do you think it is? And if I would launch back at you, do you think you would survive? Izuku spoke, but as he asked the last question, his voice darkened, causing Bakugo to actually know what fear is as he started sweating and fell down, losing consciousness. Izuku just took the orb out the window into the sky as it detonated, painting the sky in a deep orange and causing the buildings to rumble. Izuku, are you alright? I felt a ruble. What's wrong? The worried Machi asked. Nothing's wrong. Begin the operation on your side. I'll join you in a second, Izuku replied on the earpiece as he tied up the passed-out Bakugo and moved to the 3rd room. Izuku's POV. When I got to the 5th room, I could see Uraraka floating, then, throwing the projectiles, I gave her outside, keeping Sonic busy. But he was still too fast for her, and when she would come close to the bomb, he would run with it to the other side of the room. Deciding I'm tired of this, I looked at Sonic enveloped in psychic energy, then lifted high in the air, before just walking to the bomb and touching it. The hero team wins. When we got back, I was named MVP because I scouted the perimeter ahead, made a plan to split us up, was prepared for Ida, taking away anything Uraraka can use in the room, stopped Bakugo from using an idiotic move indoors, and came back in time to help my time with my struggling partner. And the villain team had a lot of wrongs, such as leaving your teammate behind without a plan or carrying a freaking nuke like it was your best friend. All in all, the day ended without any injury, and I was able to go home. Izuku's POV. The next day, I left my house, just like any other day going to school. When I was near the gates, I saw a large number of reporters blocking the way, and some of my classmates being in forced interviews. When I was close, they started surrounding me to ask questions about All Might. Of all people you could talk to me about, you chose that guy. They kept asking me, so I did the responsible thing to do. I just ignored them and went toward the gate. There was this really persistent lady that kept trying to hold me, but I would dodge every time until she was stopped by the UA barrier. I almost shuddered imagining her and her determination as a villain. Now, that would truly be a nuisance. Okay, class, today, you will do something that may affect you for the rest of your life. As a hero, I lifted my head waiting for Mr. Aizawa to stop this suspense-building nature that he seems to have. You will be selecting your class president and vice president. For some reason, the class breathed out a sigh before they each started shouting to be chosen for the position. I don't really blame them. In normal school, you wouldn't really want to be class president, but in hero school, this will reflect on you when an agency chooses to recruit you, because they will see that you have good leadership skills. So being president had a lot of benefits. But for me, it was too much work. I'd rather sleep all the time. During my inner thoughts, it seems Ida has suggested we vote, which I decided to vote for Yaoyorozu mostly because she looks like she doesn't mind the work, and she did show at some point that she is intelligent. Unfortunately, the end result showed that I had majority votes at 3, while followed by Yaoyorozu by 2, which made absolutely no sense to me. Why would anyone vote for me? Okay, the class representative is Midoriya, and vice will be Yaoyorozu. Come and say hi to your classmates, came the ever-so-enthusiastic voice of Aizawa. I didn't really want to do this, but then again, if I would step down, someone like Ida would be in charge, and that sounds too tiresome. I guess I'll do my best, or whatever, just don't question my judgment, and we'll get along. Just fine, I said my part, then went back to my seat, and zoned as Yaoyorozu was giving her presidential speech of independence, or whatever. It was now lunch, and I was in the cafeteria eating on my own. minding my own business until a certain someone decided to disturb my peace. "Hey, Midoriya, can I seat here?" It was the one and only invisible girl who had her hands behind her back and a huge smile on her face, which apparently only I could see. "No, leave me alone. Please just go and don't be a nuisance." And my prayers were ignored as she decided to seat opposite of me. "That's not nice. I just want to talk." That's all she said. "Well, I don't want to talk to you. We have nothing to talk about." "Okay, just answer me. This you said, that with your quirk you can see me, right? So do you think you could also find a way for me to be visible to everyone else?" She asked, looking at her fingers that she's been playing with. "Why would you want to be visible? You wouldn't have a quirk if I did that. You should have asked me if I can make it so that you can turn it on and off, because your quirk isn't a mutation type, but a transformation type." After I said that, she lifted her head with wide eyes looking at me, which caused me to widen my own eyes as I realized I just told her I can get her to control her quirk. I decided to turn her down before she get any ideas. "No, I will not help you control it." After I said that, she gave me the puppy dog eyes with teary eyes while saying please over and over again. I really wished I was part of the people that couldn't see her right now. There was only one way to get out of this. If I do this, there's a chance it damage your quirk, leaving you unable to become a hero. That's pretty much a lie. I know I can do this whole thing without any risk, but I have a feeling that if I do this, girl will be a nuisance on my side for a very long time. I'll do it even if I lose my quirk. I just want to be able to see myself. So even if it means changing my life plans, I'll do it. I'm tired of living a life that I'm not satisfied with. If it is possible to change it, then I'll take the chance. Well, that was passionate, I guess. "So you're not going to let this go, are you?" "Not at all," that was her reply. And now I had to do this. I stood, walked over to her, placed my hand on her head as I started emitting psychic waves directly to the part of the brain that controls the quirk. After a while, I removed my hand from her. "Try it out," I said, seating back down and eating. "Oh, my God," squeal. Next thing I know, she was jumping up and down, and everyone was looking at her as she kept becoming visible and invisible over and over again. "Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm forever in your debt, and I'll find a way to repay you someday," she said, still jumping up and holding both my hands with her blonde hair, jumping up and down. "I'd rather you do." Before I finished telling her to forget about it, an alarm went off, making people panic as apparently intruders entered the school. I moved towards the closest window, furthest from the animalistic students trying to kill each other. I then saw the news reporters from this morning. Somehow, I doubted news reporters could enter UA, but right now, I wanted to go back to class. I was going to just jump out the window and levitate to class. But then I had Hagakure scream. It looks like she was being pushed around, and for some reason, I didn't like that and wanted to punch the guys doing it. But the easiest thing to do was to stop these animals, so I levitated to the exit sign on the door and used my psych zone, and all that could no longer move. "What's going on? Somebody help. We're all gonna die. Somebody delete my browser history. Hey, idiots, look up here." They all looked to me and were shocked for some reason. "Can someone explain to me how you're all supposed to be heroes if you can't even stay calm the moment you hear there's a villain around?" The idiots remained silent like the idiots they are. "And above all, did you even consider looking out the window to see the situation? It's the media there that broke in, and I wonder they would think seeing UA students panic and almost kill each other over something like this. You should be ashamed. Look at all the students you all trampled for your own safety. Future heroes. Get back to class in an orderly manner and take the injured to the infirmary." With that, I disabled my ability and left out of the door and headed to class. Time skip. While I got to class, my classmates were busy congratulating me on how I handled the situation, while Ida was reprimanding me on insulting fellow students, which of course I ignored him. We were later told that the next day we would be heading for training outside of the school, but there was one thing that was bothering me. What was that energy signature that arrived at staff office and immediately disappeared during the commotion with the media? And why do I have a bad feeling about tomorrow? Izuku's POV. There I was staring at an uptight Ida, trying to get everyone to sit in the class seating order on the bus. "Ida, what do you think you were doing?" I asked the glass-wearing Sonic in front of me. "I'm getting everyone seated, which is what you should be doing as a class representative, but I cut him off there because I had no time for this. Good for you to notice that this is my job, not yours. And did you even look what kind of bus this is?" Realization seemed to dawn on him as his eyes slightly widened, but before he can say something, I spoke again. Stop trying to act like class rep you lost the election, and I said my judgment should not be questioned. If you have a problem with that, I give you permission to change class or leave UA. We're not here to make you feel better about yourself. We're here to be heroes. The rest of you enter the bus and sit wherever you like. With that, I entered the bus and sat at the back near the window and put my headphones on as the students started entering, and later Sensei arrived and we took off. I was enjoying my music until I noticed the frog girl was looking at me saying something. I sighed and removed my headphones. What can I do for you, Azui? Call me Tsu. I usually speak my mind, so I was wondering what your quirk actually does, since it even made Turu visible, but it also made you move objects without touching them and give you super strength. The frog girl tilted her head while putting her index finger on her chin. I hope that won't be a recurrent thing. I'll stick with Azui, and my quirk is psychokinesis, and that's all I'll say. With that, I put my headphones on as they continued talking, and out of the corner of my eye, I could see Hagakure staring at me. Weird. Okay, everyone, we're here. Get to the bus, and welcome to the USJ, came the ever-so enthusiastic voice of our sensei. Not. We all got off, going towards a large building, seeing another in a spacesuit, which I still don't know if it's a costume or their mutation makes them look like that, which is just bothering for some reason. The Rescue Hero 13. It seems the Machi girl is a huge fan of his. Or hers. This is so confusing, but I don't blame her. 13 is one of the few heroes that I respect. They're not in it for the big fight and credit, but all they want is to save people. During this time, it seems they were explaining what we will do today, which is rescue training. Fun. As 13 was numbering these things to go over before starting, the lights started flickering as a portal appeared in the center of the USJ. Cool, they also have fake villains, came the idiotic comment of Kirishima. It seems the pros started understanding the situation, and before Aizawa could speak, I took charge as class president. Those are real villains. We're under attack. The flickering lights probably means communication and surveillance is off, and that portal is probably a quirk, so they can teleport us any moment. So before that, either run to the main campus to get backup. Everyone else stick close together, I stated before all the villains could exit. I can't possibly leave my fellow classmates behind. Ida decided to talk back. So you rather choose all your classmates to die? Very heroic. Wake up, idiot. This isn't training. You will die. So don't question my judgment and get to UA now. I didn't wait for an answer as I threw him out the door with psychic energy as the last of the villains left the portal, causing the portal to transform into a humanoid structure. I thought All Might would be here, then all this would be for nothing. I guess killing a few students will be enough to make him come down here. With that, Aizawa jumped down to confront the villains while giving me a last look, telling me to protect the class, which I'm fine with. Everyone, let's head to the exit, 13 shouted, but before anyone could move, the portal guy arrived in front of us. I'm afraid I cannot allow you to leave. In order to bring All Might here, I had already made a barrier between us and him, but just then two idiots, Bakugo and Kirishima, decided to attack. So I had to break the barrier, so they don't break their bones. Unfortunately, this allowed him to teleport the class, except a few who dodged, and me, who always has a barrier around me, so the mist couldn't touch my body to teleport me. This doesn't look good because they could have been teleported anywhere, right? But the sounds of fighting around the USJ told me that they were teleported in other areas of the USJ, and there are more villains than I initially thought. This isn't good, but better than being transported to who knows where. It seems that one student is missing, and I'm pretty sure you were all here when we arrived. The portal narrowed its yellow eyes until they widened in realization as he teleported to who I assume is the leader, so the threat was momentarily removed from this group. But I then noticed the beaten Aizawa being held by a bird-head monstrosity. I actually thought it might be Tokoyami's brother or something, but left those thoughts for later. If you weren't our way out, I would kill you right now. Now I'm angry, and I have to do something about the other heroes coming. Well, I guess I should kill some of these kids before then, he said as he narrowed his eyes on Azui, who was my Netta. It seems they just escaped the water zone. As he dashed toward, about to touch her face, I had enough, and thus bullets toward her, arriving in time to stop this hand freak by holding his wrist, since it seems he needs his fingers to activate his quirk. Begone with it, I threw him toward the fountain, but he was caught by the bird head, which was surprisingly very fast, like All Might fast, which meant they were serious about killing All Might. You little brat, you're going to pay for that. The hand guys seemed to not appreciate my throw, which is fine because it seems I have to be serious now. Enough of this. With that, my eyes started glowing green as the ground started breaking and the debris started flying. A/N. Only pay attention to right picture and eyes are green. Third-person POV. Psych zone, those were next words spoken by Izuku as the Inter-USJ seemed frozen in time. He waved his hand upwards, and all his classmates and villains that were in different zones floated in the sky. He waved his hand again, and they were separated. His classmates and senseis joined the others near the door and all the villains near the fountain, and no one could move. He then swiftly knocked out all the villains except the 3 who seemed to be in charge. He returned everyone to normal as stared at his opponents. To say everyone was shocked is an understatement, because during Psych Zone, they could still everything, they just couldn't move, so they saw Izuku take care of an army in a split second by himself. Shall we begin? Came the question from Izuku as he cracked his knuckles. To say that the League was shocked would be putting things lightly. It seemed like their whole plan would be ruined by one boy even before All Might arrived. Who do you think your monster gnome would take care of him? Shigaraki couldn't accept that this would be the end. All he knew was that Nomu wouldn't lose. He was made by his master to beat All Might, so he couldn't lose. Right? Nomu sprung into action with immense speed, pulling his fist back to land a devastating punch on Izuku. And as the punch landed, a huge dust cloud was made, obscuring everyone's vision. Midoriya. That desperate came from Hagakure, who was with her classmates near the exit. She just hoped the green-haired hero in training was still alive. She wouldn't be able to handle it if he died. They had just started talking, and she hoped they could be friends so that she could find a way for him to just smile once. Is that really all that you have, or are you just not taking me serious? Came the voice of Izuku as the dust cleared, showing Izuku with his hands in his pocket and the Nomu in front of him missing an arm. It seems Izuku's barrier was a bit too strong for the Nomu, which scared the hell out of everyone, thinking that just by punching Izuku you could lose an arm. The Noma's arm, however, regenerated, causing Izuku to raise an eyebrow. But the commentary of Shigaraki told him all he needed and more, as he practically told him how to defeat the Nomu, not that he needed help. So the Nomu started its barrage of punches as Izuku dodged them to make the fight more interesting. And apparently Portal Guy also wanted to spice things up by opening random portals around Izuku. So the punches came from random directions, and it really made no difference as Izuku dodged each and every attack. Okay, I've seen your full capabilities, and I am not impressed, so I'm ending this now. Be gone. With a direct punch to Noma's stomach, a hole was left, and a huge shockwave that left a hole in the side of the USJ, and before he could regenerate, a direct wave of psychic energy stopped the brain function of Nomu, causing it to fall down, unmoving. No, you cheated. There's no way you can beat the Nomu. I call for a restart. Before he could continue his childish rant, the USJ doors were smashed open as All Might stood there without a smile. Before he could say anything, Izuku decided to speak. You're too late. The fight is over, he explained, plainly looking at the 2 League members. As it seems they were thinking of escaping, he was about to stop them by holding their bodies with psychic energy, but All Might rushed towards them, blocking his view, causing the League to escape. All Might, explain to me what you were thinking rushing towards villains. You know nothing about their quirks in front of someone who is fighting them while they're trying to capture them, said Izuku with a glare directed towards the number 1 hero. AHUC, I have more experience, so I believe it would have been better to handle IT, came the 10 IQ reply of the smiling hero. Well done, then, symbol of peace, you let the villains escape. Are you sure you thought you were better to handle it, or did you just decide that defeated the leaders would bring all the glory to yourself? Actually, I already know the answer, and I don't care. With that, Izuku left to meet up with the rest of his classmates as the other pros arrived to take away the unconscious villains and dead Nomu, while All Might had a frown on his face, as again, it seems he made young Midoriya hate him. Time skip. Midoriya, I was worried. All statements have been taken from the students and the pros. There, luckily, only Aizawa had serious injury. Everyone else just had bruises here or there, or were totally fine without a speck of dust. #cough, Izuku, #cough. And now he was in the middle of a bone-crushing hug from Hagakure, which is fine and all, but she was totally naked, invisible, but still naked. Apparently, when they were separated, she took of everything, even the gloves. It's not like she was wearing much anyway. Do you have some key or something? Izuku asked, trying to get out of the surprisingly tight embrace of the naked girl, whom Izuku would never admit how soft she was against his body. While apparently the naked girl had forgotten she's naked, and that Izuku could see everything, causing a massive blush as she moved away, trying to hide herself with her arms while mumbling things underneath her breath about not being able to marry in the future, confusing Izuku more as he has seen her naked more times than he can count at this point. Anyways, I did take your advice, and my hero costume was said to be ready by the next week. So it's not like I enjoy being naked, finding her composure to explain her current lack of clothing to accompany Quirk. Good, that means you can start training to make that Quirk into something really powerful, Izuku said, while thinking out loud. But when she saw Turu's eyes sparkling, he knew he had said something he will regret. You mean my Quirk can be powerful? I was always told I can only do infiltration with my Quirk. Is there other ways? Can you train me, since you know? She went on and on like she found gold at the end of a rainbow, also forgetting all about being naked until a floating blanket wrapped around her courtesy of Izuku, causing her to blush and turn visible again now that she wasn't completely naked. My answer is no, I will not train. I have my own things to work on, and you came to UA so that the pros could train you, so good luck. Before Izuku could walk to the bus, Toru appeared in front of him with big puppy dog eyes. Please. No. Please. No. Please. What makes you think saying please over and over will change my mind? Because it's cute, and I'm cute, and only an evil man can say no to that. Then call me Izuku, the evil man, Midoriya. No fair. Then for now on, I won't leave your side until you agree. I'll even sleep in your bed, Izuku. Stopped for a moment, because it looked like she would actually do it. Fine, he reluctantly agreed. Well, now we will spend all our time together as master and student and have a deep bond, then become the best of friends. None of that will happen. We will only see each other when we train. We'll see about that, and that is how Izuku's black and gray life started having a bit of color. Izuku's POV. I'm now standing in front of the door, staring at a blonde-haired girl with a huge smile on her face. Of course, this is Hagakure, who convinced me to train her, or more like blackmailed me. Since it's the weekend and day, one of the 2 weeks, we have to prepare for the UA Sports Festival, which we were told about yesterday. So basically what happened is that Aizawa showed up looking like a mummy. Even though we thought he'd be out for at least a month, I have to respect his commitment to making students suffer. He then told us about the sports festival and how important it is. Also, we have 2 weeks to prepare. We were also confronted by other classes which didn't really matter, but we did learn even general studies can move up to hero course through the sports festival. This leads us to today, Saturday, and the invisible girl is standing in front of my doorstep wearing a crop top, showing her stomach area, and some tight shorts, both pink. This is going to be a headache. What are you doing here, and where did you get my address? I'm pretty sure I didn't tell her where I live. Maybe she followed me home? Now I would have noticed here a mile away. I got it from Aizawa-sensei, since I said we would be training together, and since he knows you are the one that got me control over my Quirk, he agreed. She still has a huge smile on her face, as if she's proud. I'm going to talk to Aizawa later on about sending strange individuals to my house, no matter the reason. Whatever, come in if you want. With that, I left the door. Go into the kitchen to finish preparing breakfast. Did I forget to mention this crazy chick got here at freaking 8 a.m.? Anyways, I also made a second plate, because I'm sure she didn't eat. Here, if you come to training, wouldn't it be smart to eat before coming here, so that you have energy? I was going to eat, but I was so excited that I forgot, she said, taking a fork of food in her mouth. Also, you didn't even compliment me on how I'm dressed. The first you should have said is how hot I am. I just stared at the perfectly normal girl speaking mental retardation level words. First of all, this isn't a date, so don't act like it is. Secondly, where does that confidence come from? Thirdly, how good your clothes doesn't matter, because you're here for training, so they'll end up dirty and unpretty anyways. As I finish, her smile was finally gone, only to be replaced with a pout that was kind of cute. Wait, what? Couldn't you be nice? Just for once, we're going to spend 2 weeks together with a cute girl like me. So you should be trying your best to impress me. Well, she's really full of herself. I'm actually impressed. Where are your parents? I haven't seen them. Are they like at work? Well, she was going to ask sooner or later. I don't have parents. My mother died when I was 4 years old, and my father disappeared before that to go who knows where. Her smile left totally and was replaced by this sad look. For some reason, I felt a way about her not smiling. I don't know how, but I'm sure I didn't like it. Don't worry about it. I don't feel anything about it anymore. I'm perfectly fine. We should get a training now. We'll do in the backyard today. I stood up after placing the dishes in the sink, then led her to the backyard, hoping at some point she will smile again. Time skip. Pant you or pant the devil, it's been 4 hours now, and currently Hagakure is on the floor on her back. I guess that's her limit. 4 hours might seem like a lot, but she's taken so many breaks and so many complaints that I don't really think anything productive happened. All I wanted her to do was increase her speed, reflexes, and stamina, so I had her running laps while I blast her with psychic bullets, but it seems that was too much for this princess. Is this really all you got? Then it's just useless to train you. I could be doing something way more important with my time than to watch you complain. If this is what you came here for then, you can just leave, I said as I started heading toward the house. Wait, I can still continue. Don't leave. I'll get my best, I promise. I turned around as she shouted, seeing her barely standing with her legs, shaking, looking like she could fall down at any moment. Why don't you just give up now? Because you obviously cannot handle it. I stared at her with my same lifeless eyes, waiting for what she will do next. I can't give up now. I need to prove to you I can be stronger. Then maybe, just maybe, you can finally accept me as a friend. I was frozen for the first time in so long. I felt something surprise. I believe my eyes slightly widened. She wants to be friends? The last time I had a friend, they laughed and betrayed. When I was at my lowest, they only wanted to be friends when it was convenient for them. Why would I want this girl to be my friend? Is she only using me too? Will she leave me when she gets what she wants? And why do I feel a little empty at the thought of her leaving me? I just stared at her for what felt like an hour. Then I just shook my head of all these thoughts. It didn't matter what will happen in the future. She's here now, and that's all that matters. If that's your goal, you're aiming for the impossible. But if it means you will be giving it 100%, then I guess I can train you. When I finished my sentence, I could see a giant smile forming on her face that for some reason caused me to also smile a little. My first smile since I turned 4 years old. My first positive thought. Oh my God, you smiled. No, I didn't. Yes, you did. I saw you, I'm sure. All the training and heat is finally getting to you mentally. I see you need a break, and I left her to go inside while she continued shouting at me, and I couldn't help think that this wasn't all that bad. Time skip. Well, 2 weeks has finally passed, and I can safely say after the first day, training actually became productive, which is good, but Hagakure became an even bigger nuisance with all her questions and hugs and positive attitude. Well, it wasn't always bad. I just didn't like the fact that Hagakure knew so much about me after just 2 weeks of being near each other. We are now in the dressing rooms of the arena preparing to start the sports festival. I was now changing into the sports gear after the final hug I got from Hagakure, saying thank you and good luck. This caused a lot of people to stare at us, but I didn't care, and obviously Hagakure was too carefree for that. Anyways, as I am getting dressed, Endeavor's son came up to me, and I already knew this would be a waste of time. Midoriya, it's obvious to see that currently you are the strongest in class, but I will come out victorious in this fight, and I will do it with my own power. I just stared at the idiot in front of me. You admit I'm stronger than you, but have some belief that you could defeat me? Are you some anime protagonist with plot armor or something? You can't beat me at 100%, and you think you will do it 50%? Wake up, princess. This is the real world. I don't care about your reasons. The moment you hold back, you will lose. I was about to get up when Kirishima wanted to be ref, causing Bakugo to explode, who I ignored and left the dressing room to head to the arena. Just so you know, Todoroki, a hero, ignores their own problems for the sake of those who need help. If you cannot do that, then don't call yourself a hero. With that, I left heading to the arena as Present Mike started calling classes. Izuku's POV. Present Mike. And now introducing from the hero course, the class that survived a villain attack and still stands strong, class 1A. Does Present Mike always have to be so loud? Even on situations like this, I still think you should shut up. Present Mike. And also from the hero course, class 1B, then the rest of class 1. Wow, even for me, that was cold, very cold. We were all gathered with our classes in front of the stage where Midnight was standing. She was going to be in charge of the sports festival for us first years. Midnight. Firstly, let us hear from the first year representative who scored the most points in the entrance exam, Izuku Midoriya. Well, this was unexpected, but still I have to do it. So I went to the front, ignoring the shouting of Bakugo, asking why it isn't him like this wasn't mentioned on the first day. Izuku. We all want to win this thing, and we might have different reasons for that. But the main goal is to be the greatest hero we can be. So when you go out there and everyone is watching you, show them what being a hero means to you, because it's never too early to be a hero. After that, it was silent like I killed someone's cat or something until clapping and cheers started going all over the stadium. I guess I wasn't that bad. I stepped down the podium only to be tackled in a hug by Hagakure, who was not invisible. Toru, why didn't you could talk like that? I thought you would say something like, I'm going to win. Izuku, that sounds like something Bakugo would say. Toru, actually that makes sense, but still you were amazing. For some reason, hearing her say that made me feel different, like a shift happened in my mind, and it wasn't a bad thing. Midnight. Okay, thank you for that amazing speech. Now let us begin with the sports festival. It will be made out of 3 events, the third one being one-on-one battles. Using the wheel, we will determine the first event, which is the obstacle race. Head to the starting line as the rules will be explained there. We headed to the starting line, which was a narrow tunnel, which I guess would be the first obstacle, and I'm sure Todoroki will take advantage of that. Third-person POV. Present mic, start. With that, the first event started with students pushing each other, trying to exit the tunnel. Todoroki froze the ground so that others will be stuck as he takes first place. Before the ground completely froze, Izuku used psychic energy on himself to be above the ground. Seeing as Toru was going to be stuck like the battle training they had with All Might, he also lifted her to the ground before putting her down again. If you had asked him why he saved her, he himself wouldn't know, but that wasn't important now. Still in the air, he manipulated himself to shoot forward, passing everyone, including a shocked Todoroki. Present mic. We had thought Todoroki was going to take an easy win in this, but Midoriya just took away like it wasn't there, and now he is heading to the next obstacle. Bakugo was shouting still with foam in his mouth, probably rabbis using his quirk to try and catch up with Izuku, which was not going to happen. Izuku came across the next obstacle, which was the robots from the entrance exam, even 5 0-pointers, but he just waved his hand up, sending them into the air without stopping as he passed. They came crashing down for the next competitors to deal with. He ain't helping no one. Present mic. Midoriya treating the 0-pointers as if they are nothing, and here comes Todoroki, freezing them into icicles. What you feeding these kids, Aizawa? Aizawa, lots of juice. Present mic. Really? Aizawa. Of course not, you idiot. They just trained until they reached their best level. Present mic. Defeated tone. Why are you so mean to me? At the same time, Izuku was just flying over the following obstacles as they didn't affect him until he reached the finish line in record time. Present mic. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. The mean green monster known as Midoriya has crossed the finish line as if the whole course was nothing, and now we wait for the remaining participants. The next across the line was Todoroki, followed by Bakugo, then surprisingly Hagakure, who collected the mines and blew herself up with a piece of the robot to get herself ahead of the others. It was a stupid but yet brilliant idea that could have left her without any limb, but at least it worked. Later on, everyone arrived, and the second event was announced. As the third event was about to be introduced, the occupants were given time in order to go eat before fighting like their lives depend on it for the entertainment of all the grown adults out there. Izuku's POV. We had just been shown who our opponents will be, and it seems I am up against this Shinso guy who, if I'm correct, was the cause of all the dropouts. Not the most heroic way to win, but may grab people's attention, which is why we are here. Shinso, so you're the one I'm up against? Before I could answer, a tail was wrapped around my mouth. Disgusting, doesn't he use this to hit things and people? Ojiro, don't answer him, he will control you. Shinso just clicked his tongue and walked away as I removed the tail and started wiping my mouth. God, I need a mouthwash and toothpaste immediately. Ojiro, you should be careful, his quirk CA. Izuku, I appreciate the consideration, but it wouldn't be fair for me going into the fight while my opponent knows nothing of my quirk, while I know everything about is from outside sources. So I would rather fight him on equal terms. After that, I left to prepare for my first fight in this tournament. I hope everyone is prepared. Third-person POV. At this moment, Izuku Midoriya was standing in the ring, and opposite to him was the purple head boy that should probably ask his mom if she has ever met Aizawa before he was born. This was a first-round fight, and although the hype was real since this was the sports festival, but the nonchalant and uncaring attitude of the participants in this match caused a different attitude, especially compared to the more impactful previous match of Shoto Todoroki, freezing almost half of the stadium. Speaking of Todoroki, Izuku couldn't help but think of the conversation they had before the start of the tournament. Flashback. Izuku. So what did you want to talk about that was so important that I had to stop eating for you? Todoroki. The first and second round proved to me that you were a bigger threat than I initially thought, and right now, you represent the top spot in the first-year class, and if I am to succeed in being the #1 hero, I must first go through you. And I will do that only using my ice half to do so. Izuku simply blankly looked back at him, still showing no interest in the conversation at all, though he was slightly curious on the whole, using ice-only part. Izuku, you aim to be the #1 hero, but you still want to limit yourself? What is that going to prove? Shoto clenched his fist as there seemed to be a furnace burning in his eyes. Todoroki, I refused to use his quirk. My whole family suffered because of him. I couldn't be close to my siblings because of him. My mother was forced into insanity because of him, then taken away without a second thought after she had snapped. Todoroki finished while holding his burnt, I'm making it really easy to see what had happened, and him was clearly his father, since everything he had said about his family didn't include Endeavor the #2 hero. Izuku remained silent, as Shoto went on to talk about the Quirk marriage that his mother was basically bought, and how he was abused, and his siblings were ignored up to his mother being locked in psychic ward after hurting him. As much as Izuku didn't feel any emotion towards the boy, this did though reinforce his idea that there truly were few real heroes, as the majority only wanted fame and praises and would go through any means to achieve that which made him sick. He lost his mother due to a hero chasing fame, and that hero was the #1 hero. There really couldn't have been anyone worse to crush his dream than his idol and open his eyes to the truth of the world. He wasn't going to follow that path, though. He would do what his mother always told him when he used to play heroes when he was younger. He will become the greatest hero of all time and change the hero society for the better. He would create a new society that didn't discriminate and held the safety and feelings of the people above all else, whether quirkless or having an evil quirk, everyone will be accepted. Though that is something for the future. Izuku, then you may try your best, though I won't fight with my all against an opponent who would insult me by holding back as if I'm not worthy. Izuku didn't wait for a reply as he started walking away, leaving Todoroki alone with a listening Bakugo. Then Izuku was in no mood to talk to anyway. He had fight coming up, and he had to make sure that he would give the audience the show they deserved, and for some reason, he wanted to watch how Hagakure would perform. Maybe he wasn't feeling well today. Flashback over. Midnight, are you ready? Midnight called to the two people in the ring, also bringing the green-haired boy back from his thoughts. Izuku and Shinso both just nodded, causing people to question even more how this fight would turn out when both fighters like they would rather be somewhere else entirely. Midnight, then begin. Shinso, I would advise you to just give up now, even if you were in Class A, you have nothing on me. Izuku just remained quiet and watched the poor boy in front of him that was looking for a reaction. Shinso, so that monkey actually warned you here I was being nice and allowing him to pass through, and he is stupid enough to let that chance slip by. Izuku, do you really think it's a good idea to be insulting fellow first years in front of the heroes you want to impress? Shinso, huh? You fell for it. Now walk out of the ring for me. Izuku, I don't think I will do that, unfortunately. Maybe I will if you say, please next time. Shinso, how are you still able to talk to me? The people in the crowd were obviously confused at this. Even Mike didn't understand, which he let everyone know loudly that he was confused. Aizawa, of course, filled in some of the blanks on what Shinso's quirk is and why he ended up in Class C with such a good quirk, though even he didn't know why it wasn't working. Izuku, I see now. So your quirk works on reply at first. I thought you just have to talk to someone for it to work, but it seems it's not the case, though it would be very powerful that way. Oh, and to answer your question, you simply couldn't have gotten a worse opponent to go up against. Since your quirk requires me to reply, it means it is 100% a mental quirk that targets a person whose brain allows it to work whether intentional or not. Unfortunately for you, I'm a psychic with my quirk. I can defend against any mental or psychic wave. Not stronger than me, though. I give you A for effort. Shinso, you're joking, right? This is the one thing I have. Why do other have to be born with good quirks while I'm labeled with an evil quirk and treated like that? And when I want to be a hero, everything is against me again. Now my quirk is even useless in doing the one thing that it is supposed to do. The whole stadium, as the boy's voice seemed to have been carried far enough for them to slightly hear him. Izuku, what exactly about you, quirk, is evil? Shinso's eyes went wide, looking at the green-haired boy. At the end of the day, a quirk is a quirk. No one is born to be evil. It is how they use this power that is evil. Someone with your quirk can resolve hostage situations in a second, and even if you don't know how to fight an opponent that is unprepared, would lose easily to you. But that doesn't mean you can win against anyone, and you cannot blame others for being born with different quirks than you, because you will be no different than them at the end of the day. Society isn't perfect, that is the unfortunate truth, but giving up and convincing yourself that the world is against you won't solve anything, so get up and fight. To Shinso, it looked like the sun had just picked out a sky that has always been covered in dark clouds. Never had he been praised for his quirk before, and he expected that to ever change. Even if he became a hero, he planned to continue being this sole hero that may be hated, but would still save everyone in need without receiving any praise or recognition. But now someone told him his quirk could be useful. He couldn't explain what he was currently feeling, but he was relieved in a way. And so he started running towards Izuku to at least try to put up a fight. Even though it couldn't be considered an actual fight, it was clear Shinso put in his all. Even though Izuku didn't use his quirk and kept dodging his untrained strikes until he threw Shinso off bounds. Shinso didn't feel any anger or sadness over the loss, as he was happy. Instead, though the cheers for him from his classmates and other heroes for him almost brought him to tears as he finally felt accepted. Izuku went on his way to the viewing area to watch the following matchups, but he didn't really care about them. Well, maybe he wanted to see only one. The fights ensued, and now was Hagakure versus Mina. The thing that made this fight to be interesting was not only because the two girls were actually best friends, but one of these girls had actually had a total change to their quirk after she was admitted and had to change her sport clothes material and hero outfit. Many heroes were obviously told about this in the reports written about the students beforehand, and many were surprised at the not-so-invisible girl in front of them. Mina, you ready to lose, Toru? Toru, not in your wildest dreams. I walked through in preparation for this. Mina, you mean training with your boyfriend? The teasing was a success as Hagakure became burning red. Toru, he's not my boyfriend. We're just friends, even though he doesn't want to admit it. Mina, whatever you say, but it won't win you this fight. Toru, bring it on. With that, the match began as the two girls ran at each other. Those that knew the two girls would automatically rule off the invisible girl, as her quirk was more orientated towards stealth and combat, unlike her opponent, which is true, but the amount of training she had received from Izuku had made such a thing insignificant, as we will see now. As the distance between the girls came to a close and Mina threw her punch, she was met with air as Toru disappeared right in front of her eyes. Her surprised state only continued when Toru appeared next to her and delivered a truck of a punch, sending her tumbling to the floor. Mina didn't stay for long as she flipped herself to her feet with amazing agility and shot her acid to the area that Toru only find her gone and receive a knee to the stomach from Toru, who appeared right in front of her, followed by a spinning kick, sending her to the floor again. This is how the match continued on. Whenever Mina attacked, Toru would disappear and then appear to land a strike in a different location, and the interval between appearing and reappearing was so small it actually looked like she was teleporting. Momo, Midoriya Toru spent the 2 weeks preparing for the sports festival with you, correct? Then could you tell me why she keeps turning off her invisibility when she's about to strike instead of just staying invisible? I'm sure that is less risk of getting caught. Yaoyorozu was one of the few people in the class that didn't annoy Izuku. She was intelligent and only spoke when she needed to, and above all, she was rich, but didn't act like it, showing that she didn't care much about removing that from her goal for being a hero. Izuku, it's simple really. Who would you be more comfortable fighting, an invisible opponent or one that can teleport? Momo, Well, I guess one that is invisible as a teleporter would be unpredictable and could escape any trap by teleporting. But Hagakure. Izuku is not a teleporter, you are correct, but another reason why fighting an invisible person is easier is because you're cautious when you attack, as they can be anywhere in fear of always attacking air. But with the teleporter, you become irrational and attack the first sign of movement, since you know they can appear any moment. Humans are impatient creatures and respond automatically to certain emotions, such as panic. And there is no greater panic than not knowing where your opponent will strike next. Momo, I see. Mina started applying her acid to the bottom of her feet so that she can slide around the ring for faster movement, but each time she would be met with an attack from Toru. Mina, that's an acid rain. Mina lifted her arms in the and shot a huge ball of acid, which then turned to droplets raining on the ring. Toru, too bad that the match is already over. Toru appeared right in front of Mina, with part of her sports clothes burned by the acid, but it didn't stop her as she pushed through and delivered a mighty punch to Mina, launching her out of bounds as she moved closer to the edge in order to cover a larger portion of the ring with her attack. Midnight. Winner Toru Hagakure of Class 1A. Mina, I lost. I didn't see that coming. Mina was still sprawled on the floor outside the ring. Toru, hey, come on, get up. Already you still have to buy me a soda since I won. Mina, when did we say anything about that? Toru, I just came up with it right now. Mina, that's not fair. Toru, then you just have to win next time. Mina, I will. Mina was now on her feet with her fist in the air as the two girls looked at each other and started laughing. The next matches continued without problem except for the disapproval of Bakugo's methods by the crowd, but Izuku could care less on what he does because to him Bakugo died a long time ago, and nothing he could do could change that. The next matches for the second round would soon begin, and the first one was Izuku versus Todoroki, and people were hyped for this one, even though Izuku hadn't shown as extreme feats as Todoroki. He was the fastest to ever go through the first stage. As Izuku was looking at the brackets in the observation area, someone was coming towards him. They dropped and landed on his lap. Izuku, Hagakure, what do you think you are doing, and why are you invisible? Toru, you're no fun. You should be blushing and stuttering when you have a cute invisible girl like me on your lap. Izuku, I don't think you're supposed to call yourself cute anyways. What do you want? Toru, I won my match, but you still didn't come find me and congratulate me. Izuku, why should I do something like that when you would obviously come to annoy me about it and call us friend again? Toru, we are friends. The girl yelled with so much passion you would think she is yelling about changing the world. Izuku, isn't friendship something people agree upon together, not like forced into? Toru, that's it. Let's make a bet if I win my next match, we're going to have a day together as friends to enjoy ourselves and cement our friendship. Izuku, are you asking me out on a date? Izuku just raised an eyebrow. He couldn't understand this whole friend talk, and where it was coming from, it's not like he has given a reason to find him friendly. Toru, what are you talking about? I said it's day out with a friend, not a date. Whisper unless you want to. Even though she whispered, Izuku heard everything but decided not to mention it. Izuku, fine, I accept your one-sided bet. Besides, it's almost time for my match. With that, Izuku got up, heading to the preparation room in order to be ready for his match against Todoroki. Although on his way, he was met by the red-hot bear himself, the one boy people wanted in their camp to roast s'mores, the number 2 hero himself, Endeavor. This would be interesting. As the two were locked in a staring contest, none giving way to the other, you could see that the tension is real. Third-person POV. Izuku Midoriya was now face-to-face with the number 2 hero and father of Shoto Todoroki, the one and only Endeavor. Endeavor, you are the boy facing Shoto in the following match. Make sure you give him a challenge so that he grows out of his phase and shows the world that my creation will be better than All Might in the future. He started walking, passing by Izuku to leave until Izuku spoke. Izuku, you are one of the heroes I hate the most. Something is seriously wrong about how they choose the top heroes. You only care for yourself as long as you succeed. It doesn't matter who is hurt. You disgust me, and Todoroki is your son, not your tool, even though he is unfortunate enough to be related to you. And I'm not one of the people you can threaten to do your bidding, so don't even try to boss me around, AG. Endeavor, The force in which Endeavor turned around caused some wind to blow, and the temperature in the hallway was increasing. "What did you say to me? Are you sure you know who I am, brat?" Izuku calmly stared back at the giant torch lighter in front of him, not feeling the slightest bit intimidated. How could he? This guy couldn't even beat an injured All Might. "Izuku, you should calm down and use your brains a little. This is the sports festival arena, therefore there are cameras all over the place. You attempting to harm a UA student and your son's opponent would be a problem even for you. So go for a swim or put your head in a freezer or something." With that, Izuku turned around and continued walking off to prepare for the next match, which he already knew would be troubling in all sorts of manners. Time skip. Present mic. Ladies and all you gentlemen in the crowd, I hope you've been enjoying the festival so far with all the non-stop out of this world action, and it's still not over. That's right, folks, it's the moment you have been waiting for, the quarterfinals. The first match will be the son of the No. 2 hero, the ice-cold Shoto Todoroki, and his opponent, the first-year representative and overall favorite, the never-smiling mean and green Izuku Midoriya. For some reason, it seems Present Mike was still as hyper as ever, and it felt like torture for Aizawa, who was next to him, but on the other hand, the crowd that had come to watch were eating it up and asking for more. Now on the stage, we had Todoroki, staring down Izuku, who looked like we wished he could be anywhere, but here at the moment, but he still wouldn't lose to someone like Todoroki. "Todoroki, you should give up now. I will defeat you today without using his power." "Izuku, yeah, you said that before. Is the recording broken or something? Anyways, until you take this seriously, I also won't be taking you seriously. Okay?" Todoroki didn't reply, instead went in a battle position, which Izuku thought was quite rude, but he kept that to himself as he just continued to stare at the half and half kid. Midnight. Are both the contestants ready? She only received a nod from both the socially impaired boys, then begin. The moment the signal was given, Shoto stomped his foot on the ground, sending a torrent of ice in the direction of Izuku, hoping to end this quickly, but of course that hope was shuttered when the ice simply shuddered from Izuku, snapping his fingers. There was a pause and silence in the arena, as if something impossible had just happened. Truthfully, the match had just begun, so it's not a clear winner could already be decided, but if an attack like that could be nullified by a simply snap, then things were looking bad for the ice user. Todoroki didn't give up, though, as he sent another barrage of ice in a trail heading for Izuku while moving around to attack from different sides, but even the Izuku just snapped his fingers and all the ice shuddered. The next move was to get close to Izuku, so Todoroki used the ice to create a path toward his target while surfing. The logic here was probably along the lines of, if I can't hit you from a distance, I'll just close the gap and hit you while there's zero distance, which in theory is good against anyone else than Izuku, that is. The moment Todoroki got close and attempted to touch Izuku, "Todoroki, what?" Just before he reached Izuku's arm, some sort of invisible barrier stopped moving forward, and as he looked, and the cause of this, he saw the expressionless face of Izuku, and one hand in front of his face ready to snap. "Izuku, nice try, but not good enough." With a snap, Todoroki was pushed all the way to the edge of the ring with all ice that he created before shuddered. He only was able to catch himself barely with the help of his ice. He was now breathing heavily with minor cuts on his skin and clothes. "Izuku, what you're doing isn't working. Just look at yourself. You're almost totally exhausted. Half your body is getting frosted from the imbalanced use of your quirk, and above all, since this match started, I haven't taken a step from this position. Use your quirk at 100%, or give up. This isn't a place for people like you. No one will recognize a hero that doesn't give it their all." "Todoroki, I refuse to use his quirk. I would rather lose than use my fire." This actually made Izuku feel rage for the first time in a long time. He couldn't hold himself back. "Izuku, then tell me, mister, I'll never use my quirk when you become a hero, and someone needed you to save them. And only your fire could do it. You're trying to tell me you let them die just because you don't want to use a part of your quirk. If that's what a hero to you is all about, then give up now and do something else. The last time I checked, the name of your quirk wasn't Hellflame, so how the hell is your quirk and his the same?" The shout of Izuku rang throughout the arena. Many didn't understand what was going on as the fight momentarily paused, but they were mostly shocked at seeing the green young hero shout. Whatever this was about, it was important, and it would impact the young Todoroki's life forever, and that assumption was correct, as a moment later, blazing flames erupted from his left side, causing the people to feel like the sun was sitting right next to the watching the fight. Todoroki, Midoriya, thank you, the words weren't said loud, but were heard by the person who needed to hear them. Endeavor, Shoto, that's it, embrace the power I gave you, and show them what a perfect tool can do. Even though Endeavor was loud enough for the world to hear, no one was paying attention, as they wanted to see what would happen next. Izuku, I hope you are ready for the finale, and this time I'll be serious and come to you myself. With that, the fight continued. Ice beams and pillars erupted from the ground as Izuku moved and jumped from one pillar to the other. The flames Todoroki had also were being concentrated for a final attack. Midnight. They're going to kill each other, Cementos, hurry. She shouted as ripped her costume to release her quirk. It's not like it would anything. Cementos created a wall immediately between the two, but the fighters didn't care, and once Todoroki released the attack, he was building up. Izuku appeared right in front of him, surprising, but he was mostly surprised by the similar scene with his hand ready to snap, and he did. Izuku, well, that was a good fight, but let's wrap it up now, snap. A wind blew, making the audience almost lift from their seat. No sound could be heard, as if an atomic bomb went. Then everything seemed to be pulled to one location before more silence. When people got themselves back together and looked at the ring, they saw Izuku standing there. No ice, no stone wall, no flames, and no Todoroki. If you want to know where he's, you just had to follow the gorge left in the ground, leading to the wall of the arena, where one white and red Todoroki was embedded and sleeping on the wall. Once Midnight got herself back up and understood the situation, she made the announcement. Midnight, Todoroki is out of bounds. The winner is Izuku Midoriya. There was a long silence, but then it was followed by clapping and cheers as Izuku stepped out of the ring for it to be repaired, while Todoroki would be getting medical attention, a lot of it. Now we would just wait for the next match, Toru versus Tokoyami. This would be the hardest fight for Toru, but also the best way to prove herself. Third-person POV. Hello, dudes and dudettes. I hope you haven't left your screens yet, because the quarterfinals are still in progress. And if you ask me, this is the greatest sports festival we have had in all of previous years. Don't you agree, Eraser? Present Mike was as hyper as ever next to Eraserhead, who wished he could be anywhere but here at the moment. Can we just get on with the next match already? Your positivity is suffocating. Aizawa didn't seem to care about how great the festival was. Come on, Aizawa, you don't need to be so grumpy. Anyways, the next match will be Invisible Terrible Menace of 1A vs the Dark Knight Reincarnated of 1A. On the stage, Toru was standing ready to face off against her opponent Tokoyami. The stakes were obviously high. Everyone had their own reason to fight with everything that they had, and you could see the determination within their eyes. Ready, begin. That was the signal from Midnight that kicked to the battle, with Tokoyami immediately releasing Dark Shadow, his quirk, which was basically a sentient shadow. In response, Toru disappeared from view, getting an excited reaction from the crowd, as the last time the Invisible Girl showed her skill. The battle was one to remember. Toru's POV. When the match began, Tokoyami released Dark Shadow, so I decided to use my quirk in order to protect myself and also to attack. Here goes nothing. I shot towards Tokoyami on his left-hand side, as Dark Shadow was leaned mostly on the right-hand side, probably his dominant side, so I thought I should take advantage. As I got closer and would Haver delivered a punch, Dark Shadow suddenly appeared in front of me, striking down, so I had to withdraw, stopping in my tracks, and back flipping away as his fist shattered the platform where I once stood. I released my quirk, remembering what Izuku told me about staying invisible for too long, as the enemy would learn to adapt, so it's better to turn it on and off on a regular basis in order to confuse them, but it seems Tokoyami already knew where I was. It doesn't matter if you were visible or not, at all becomes the same within the darkness. I'm not sure if he was just being an emo as always, or he meant that Dark Shadow doesn't really rely on vision to identify enemies, which if that is the case would be a real hassle. The only way to confirm it though would be to try again, so let's do this again. I ran at Tokoyami again straight ahead, then when Dark Shadow stretched out to attack, I activated my quirk, then slipped under the main body of Dark Shadow and started running towards Tokoyami, but before reaching him, I felt a huge impact upon side of my body, sending me flying and crashing on the floor until I stopped. The cause was none other than Dark Shadow, which seemed to confirm that he could somehow tell where I was even with my quirk active. I told you it is futile to hide. Anything you do will only result in your defeat, so I would advise you to forfeit and embrace the dark side. It really seems like he is sure that he will win. I'm not giving up. This match means a lot more to me than you can ever imagine. I thought I would save this for the finals against Izuku to show how much I have improved, but I guess this is the exact moment to use it. I gotta get my all plus ultra. Third-person POV. Toru got up though. It was obvious that she was hurt from the previous hit that she took, but the fire in her eye was not lost, though no one could see her as her quirk was still active. She took a step forward, followed by another, then another, until she was close enough and spread her arms. If you are one with darkness and love it so much, allow me to shine some light on it. Warp refraction. Say cheese. That shout was all that was heard as silence reigned, as bright light, emitted from Toru, filled the entire stadium, as everyone shielded their eyes from blinding light, while everyone except a green-haired boy with a force field protecting him. This was Toru's special move that she developed after Izuku told her that her quirk was actually bending light, which allowed her to not be seen when no light bounced of her. So taking that principle, she concluded that it should be possible to refract that light in different directions with a higher intensity, thus the move Warp Refraction was born. She had planned to blind Tokoyami, but it seemed that it had a better effect than she thought, as it looked like Dark Shadow was now smaller and cowering away from her. This gave her all the opportunity she needed to attack. And attack she did, getting close enough to deliver a mighty right hook followed by a left straight punch, lining up Tokoyami perfectly for a spinning heel kick to the face. Tokoyami was sent flying, seeming seriously hurt. He wasn't weak in any sense of the word, but had relied on training his quirk so much that he had neglected his physical body, making it his obvious weakness. It seems I became the worst matchup that you could possibly have, said Toru as she deactivated her quirk. Truly, the ability to refract light was a blessing for her, and the only way she could probably win this fight. That didn't mean it didn't come with some obstacles, as the technique was fairly new and unpracticed. She couldn't hold it for long or perform it multiple times. So the next one had to count. You truly surprised me, but do you think I was unaware of my own weakness and haven't worked on overcoming it? Tokoyami spoke as he got up from the ground. He seemed more serious than before. From how hard you are breathing, I assume you haven't mastered this technique of yours, and such this will come down to a battle of endurance. Let's see if your light can conquer my darkness. Once he finished speaking, he unleashed Dark Shadow again towards Toru, who activated her quirk, then dodging. Even though she knew that Dark Shadow could locate her, it was easier to use Warp Refraction with her quirk already active. She continued dodging all over the ring as Dark Shadow would slam his claws in areas she had just been lifting parts of the platform with impressive strength. Toru couldn't get close to Tokoyami. As he was more prepared this time, he kept her at a distance. If she activated Warp Refraction, she wouldn't be close enough to deliver the final blow, as by the time she would reach Tokoyami, the effects would wear off and Dark Shadow would recover. If I can just slow down Dark Shadow for a moment, it would give me enough to reach Tokoyami. But how? As Toru was thinking, suddenly an idea came to mind, one that was risky but could make the difference. I don't even know if it's possible, but I don't really have a choice. Toru stopped and sprinted toward Dark Shadow. And as Dark Shadow came closer, she lifted her right hand and activated Warp Refraction only on her right hand, which was enough to cause Dark Shadow to move aside in a form of retreat as she continued to sprint forward towards Tokoyami. As long Dark Shadow was handled, she would have no problems, and applying Warp Refraction to only a single part of the body would allow her to use it for longer, but she had to be more focused, and the area of effect was smaller. Just as she reached Tokoyami, believing that this battle was won, she saw how relaxed Tokoyami was, just standing with his arms crossed. Before she could dig deeper as to why, she a huge blow on the left side of her body, throwing her high into the sky before roughly landing back on the stage. The pain was tremendous, and she felt like she would pass out any moment as her quirk deactivated on its own. She slightly looked up to see what hit her as she saw Dark Shadow. She didn't understand, as she was sure she had kept Dark Shadow on her right side weakened until she saw the slabs of the platform where Dark Shadow attacked before that acted as shield as the trail of shadow moved all the way to the other side. She was so focused on her technique that she didn't realize she was being led to a trap. As she felt her eyes grow heavier, all she could think about was how she failed after all the help Izuku gave her. With that thought, she lost consciousness. When the match was announced with Tokoyami being the winner, Izuku stood up from the observation booth and headed to the medical wing. There wasn't any big reason for him to go see Hagakure except for the fact that he helped train the girl. Even though the girl was truly annoying and overly hyper, he still felt some responsibility over whether she wins or lose. At least that was the logic that he came up with. Reaching the room the girl was staying in, after asking around a bit, he knocked, then entered, finding her staring out the window with a sports bra on and the entire mid-region covered in bandages while in bed. She didn't even turn around while she continued to stare outside the window before speaking. "I'm sorry I disappointed you, Midoriya. I let my guard down, and it led to me losing Izuku." Just stared at her before deciding to ask what was on his mind. "Why apologize to me? You were the one that lost, so it doesn't really affect me." He truly was confused, as it seems to occur every time he was near this girl, but he usually just attributed it to her randomness. "You spent so much of your time training me and preparing me for this, and yet I still lost." There were now tears at the corner of her eyes, and her fists were clenched strongly, as it seemed she would cry at any moment. When she entered UA, she wouldn't have minded that much losing to someone better than her. After all, her quirk wasn't the best, but after being shown her own potential and having Midoriya actually train her, she felt like the biggest failure ever. Before she could drown more on her self-depriving thoughts, she felt a hand placed on her head. "I don't know where you got the idea that 2 weeks would be enough to fight and win against people that have trained their quirks their whole lives. Truthfully, you reached further than I expected you to, and somehow was able to apply new ways to your quirk that I hadn't thought of, so I wouldn't consider this a total loss. Besides, if you beat yourself up, now how are we supposed to go to that friends outing together?" At those words, Hagakure lifted her head. Her cheeks were red, probably from the hand on her head. Her mouth was wide open and eyes as wide due to the words that she never expected from Izuku. "Are you trying to cheer me up?" She just had to get to the bottom of this act. "No, I simply decided that since you exceeded my expectations and even used your quirk in a creative way that even I didn't teach you, then you deserve at least one reward." But I lost. Hagakure was actually lost for words. Was this a way of Midoriya saying he was proud of her? "Doesn't matter. So after I actually win this tournament, you will choose when this outing will occur, though I wouldn't mind if you conveniently forgot about it." With that, Izuku left the room, leaving a still shocked and blushing Hagakure. But one look at her eyes could tell you that she was over the moon happy. If you asked Izuku himself why he actually said what he said, the answer would be a bit different from what he gave Hagakure. It's true she exceeded his expectations, but that wouldn't be enough for him to agree to her crazy ideas. Honestly, for some reason, Izuku just couldn't stand seeing Hagakure about to cry. It was like something inside him twisted in an uncomfortable manner, leading him to do the first thing that came to his mind in order to make her stop crying. The reason for this weird feeling was unknown to him, but the only logical explanation was that it was his hero sense. He saw someone that was in trouble and decided to save them, but that was just him trying to convince himself. Whatever might be the real reason, that would have to wait, because there were still 2 matches left until this festival was over for him, and he could already guess who he was facing in the finals. Third-person POV. It's now time for the semi-finals. After a long road of effort, blood, sweat, and tears, we are reaching the finale of the sports festival. Can I get a yeah? Present Mike seemed to be hyper, as always, which in turn affected everyone else, causing loud cheers to come from the stadium. Now for the following match, we have the turbo-powered speedster of 1A versus the green apocalypse of 1A. Seriously, what's up with 1A winning all their matches? As Present Mike was speaking in the arena, facing each other was Tenya Ida and Izuku Midoriya, ready to fight it out for the semifinals. Midoriya, it really is an honor to face against you in such a stage. I hope we can bring out each other's full potential in this showing. Ida spoke while continuously hand chopping the air, Poor air. Midoriya didn't respond, instead looked at Midnight with a bored expression. Catching the non-verbal command, Midnight asked if both fighters were ready before beginning the match. Tenya immediately activated his quirk, zigzagging towards his opponent, who still had a bored expression and his hands in his pockets. As Tenya reached Izuku and swung his right leg toward his head, Izuku simply bent backwards, allowing the kick to pass him harmlessly. As Ida spun back to face back towards Izuku after the missed attack, he was met by a punch to the face that sent him a few meters away, bouncing on the platform along the way. Izuku couldn't quite understand the thought process of his classmate. He knew that he was untouchable with his quirk, but still tried to engage in close-quarters combat. Of course, Izuku could have simply just not dodged the attack, but he still wanted more combat training for situations in which his quirk might not work for whatever reason. Izuku didn't want to drag this match out for long, as he had already spent more time than required in the Todoroki fight. Besides, Tenya had already shown what his quirk was about. Any idiot could tell how useful it was, so there was no need to prolong this. At that thought, Izuku pulled his fist back at the same time that Tenya finally stood up from the earlier punch. Before he could fully orient himself, though, he felt a force pulling him quickly towards Izuku in speeds he has never traveled before. Just as his eyes widened at the impending pain he was about to receive, he reached Izuku and felt his fist dig deep into his abdomen before sending him spiraling outside the ring. The crowd was silent. The semi-final match just ended like that, as if it wasn't two hero candidate students facing off, but a hero and a quirkless person, so undeniably one-sided. Winner Izuku. Midoriya, even Midnight, had to take the time to process the situation that she had just observed. Obviously, she knew that Midoriya was a powerhouse, but Tenya was no slouch either, hence he reached the semifinals, but see him handled so easily was something else entirely. Izuku simply left the stage to go to the waiting area for the next match, as he knew the next match wouldn't take long, especially after his display, and he was correct. 3 minutes after the start of the match, the announcement that Bakugo Katsuki had won his match rang through the stadium, signaling for Izuku to head to the arena for the final match of the sports festival. Oh my god, what the hell are you teaching these kids? Seriously, Erasure, what kind of one-sided beatdown is this? We are already at the finals. Present Mike was pulling at his hair, unable to contain the excitement he was feeling, while Erasure Head, on the other hand, was calmer on the outside. But inside, he was excited by the potential his class held. Now the moment you have been waiting for, the finals of the UA High Sports Festival. We have the ticking time bomb of 1A versus the Green Calamity of 1A. Izuku was starting to wonder if his nicknames were becoming more villainous or if he was just imagining it. Well, that will be a thought for another time now. He was staring down his former friend, who was giving him a murderous look. Are both fighters ready? Midnight asked, as Bakugo just nodded as Izuku did the same. Then let the finals begin. With that, the final battle began. Deku, I'm going to roast you today. The angry blonde rabies-infected dog shouted as it propelled itself with explosion towards Izuku, who still remained standing still. Bakugo reached Izuku and sent a right hook, which was a feint, as he brought a left flaming uppercut instead, which was all simply dodged by Izuku, who spun and was now behind Bakugo, who, upon noticing, tried to deliver a back elbow that Izuku ducked under. Bakugo, frustrated at Izuku dodging his attacks, started bombarding Izuku with explosions and explosive attacks that Izuku continued dodging gracefully. Stop dodging, you useless Deku! As Bakugo shouted that over his rage-filled missed attacks, his next punch was caught by Izuku's hand. Then you would prefer that I start fighting back? Consider it done. Next thing that occurred was Bakugo getting punched 4 times in the abdomen, causing him to rise to the air as the punches connected. Then, with a kick right to his chin, was sent back, flipping to the other side of the ring. Bakugo struggled to get up, but as he did, Izuku was already in front of him, as he slightly crouched and, faster than Bakugo could see, delivered a flurry of right and left hooks to his face in quick succession. As Izuku landed the final punch, sending Bakugo to the ground again, he looked at his bloodied face and just felt like it wasn't enough. He could definitely have ended this match in seconds, but after everything Bakugo had done to him growing up, it only seemed fair that he would be the one to beat some humility into him. Bakugu still tried to stand struggling to do so, but considering the beating he had just taken, it was a miracle he could stand at all. He still maintained his glare towards Izuku, as if he glared long enough, he would just catch fire and die, but unfortunately for Bakugu that would not happen. Don't think you've won, yet Deku, you are not better than me, so you better not look down on me, you hear me, you trash. Bakugu roared as he propelled himself into the sky with explosions, while Izuku still remained standing without a care in the world. I like to see you dodge this howitzer impact, DI. Bakugu started spinning in the air, while releasing explosion, creating a back tornado around him as his speed increased tremendously as he spiraled towards Izuku, as he still remained as unfazed as ever. Upon making impact, large chunks of rocks started raining everywhere as a huge explosion had happened where Bakugu had landed his attack. Many would have thought that Izuku would be gravely injured if he even survived such an attack, but as the dust settled, they all were shocked. In the center of the crater created by Bakugu was an unscathed Izuku Midoriya with 0 damage, even to his clothes, while his outstretched hand was holding one Bakugu Katsuki by the throat, while his left hand held the wrist that was responsible for the attack, visible by the damage that hand sustained from a move. Izuku stared into Bakugu's now frightened eyes. For the first time since the slime villain attacked, Bakugu felt fear once more. I believe you had asked me to stop dodging, so of course I would take your attack head on. Izuku spoke with an emotionless voice that made Bakugu even more frightened. He could never admit it, but the indifferent expression and flat tone Izuku always had after they turned for always sent shivers on his back. It made him feel like Izuku was ignoring his existence, even though he was right in front of him. He hated that. Then, since you showed me your special skill, allow me to show you mine to end this contest. I had first planned to end you without using my quirk, but I guess you've earned to at least be the first to experience this. Bakugu's eyes widened as he realized Izuku really didn't use his quirk the entire match and had been able to leave him in this state while remaining unharmed. Am I really that inferior to you? Am I the useless one? Were all the people that praised my quirk lying to me? Bakugu's arms went limp as his head fell at the realization of his inferiority. Izuku saw tea, but still delivered on his promise. 1,000 hands of Buddha, a green giant Buddha silhouette showed itself behind Izuku, with thousands upon thousands of hands behind it. He then threw Bakugu in the air as the hands behind the Buddha flew at him in speeds no could track as they pummeled him deep into ground repeatedly as smoke covered the whole stadium. When the dust settled, a large crater was formed with a bloodied, unconscious Bakugu, who had visible broken bones in multiple places. Immediate medical attention was sent even before the match was called. When Bakugu was away, there was a moment of complete silence in the stadium, so silent you could even hear your own heart. Izuku gave a fake cough towards Midnight, who was spaced out staring at the place the giant Buddha was a moment. Upon hearing the cough, she regained her senses and announced winner of the match and sports festival, 1A's Izuku Midoriya. That seemed to pull everyone from their thoughts, and loud cheers resounded, followed by fireworks as the sports festival came to a close. Awards ceremony. Nothing significant occurred during the award ceremony, as Bakugu was absent due to still being injured, and Tenya also had to go respond to a family emergency, so only Izuku and Tokoyami was there. Of course, there was a tense moment, as All Might was the one giving the medals, but Izuku controlled himself and immediately left after it was over, leaving behind an All Might that was attempting to speak to him. Elsewhere, in a dark and empty bar, a single TV was showing the sports festival as it stopped on the fight with Izuku and Katsuki as the sound of nails on skin could be heard. We need him. So this was the end of this series. Stay tuned for next part of this series, and if you like this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Until next time.